we make a 2D RPG game in this channel, and today we'll be writing dialogue for the first boss of the game. That's what we've been doing the last few streams. And we also have a question of the week this week, which is, what is your favourite boss battle in any RPG? So it's related to what we've been doing because we're also working on the first boss of the game. So I'm interested to know what your favourite boss is, everyone. So if you have one, let me know. I still haven't said what mine is, but hopefully I'll figure it out. It's a hard question. Right, so feel free to share it with us, guys. Yay! Okay, guys, so let's switch. So the poll, we have closed the poll now. We made the official decision of who is the most evil fruit and who is the one with the good intentions. That was all decided yesterday. So I made this scale here. We can see Apple is the least evil of the group, which I want to make 100% clear because some didn't realise yesterday. But that doesn't mean Apple's a good guy, and just because Plum and Lemon are towards the middle, that doesn't mean they're neutral. They're all still evil. It's a scale of evil, not a scale of alignment. That's why it's labelled least evil and most evil. So Tomato and Blueberry are just crazy evil. They are just scary, frightening. Plum is still evil, but perhaps not as sadistic as Tomato and Blueberry, and Lemon even less so. He's got that sort of soft centre there, even though he's pretty he's a pretty nasty dude from time to time. Look at that face. And Apple, well, Apple's definitely the one with the most good intentions, that's for sure. But he has his flaws too. For example, hanging around with a bunch of evil people doesn't exactly redeem him much. Just 1 calorie, not quite evil enough. So we also matched them all up with a trope that fits them like the most, because it's always good. I always find it helpful to kind of see where it could lead the character and develop them. It's a pretty good tool, TV tropes is. So to make things clear, the difference between Blueberry and Tomato, because there seemed to be a little bit of a misunderstanding yesterday. I don't know if there might have been some typos, but I think some people thought Blueberry was the angsty teen, but Tomato is the angsty one. Tomato is 100% the angsty teen, whereas Blueberry is the child. He's the sweet little boy who is actually terrible. But he's adorable as well. So the infant terrible trope basically sums Blueberry up. If you go on TV tropes and read that first paragraph, that is basically Blueberry. It talks about how adorable they are. All anyone ever wants to do is hug them. But really, they're not. They're evil. They're evil, really. And Tomato is probably just way more obviously evil. There's no hiding Tomato's evilness. Plum, evil genius, typical wizard, up to no good, experimenting with his magic, causing chaos. Lemon, bruiser with a soft centre, so he has that soft side, and one of the reasons why he has that soft side is because of how much he takes care of Blueberry. He looks after him. It's like a father-son thing, and he even has a skill in battle where he protects Blueberry. And we, at some point, will be revisiting that battle because it is unfinished. The first phase is almost there, but the second phase we haven't even begun yet. So we've got to go back to that fight, and that's what we'll be revisiting once we've finished the whole dialogue and cutscene sequence. We'll be going to that battle again when we know exactly what that scene is that leads up to the battle and we've got it all done. Hi lads, Lemon is not as evil as Blueberry and its acid shot. Well, it's subverting expectations, isn't it? I think everybody would expect Lemon to be the evil one and Blueberry to be the not evil one at first glance. And, you know, in for a shock. But this was all community votes. community 100% decided this scale of evil. So all the votes, tomato had the most and blueberry fell shortly behind. People wanted those guys to be the most evil. It's quite interesting because nobody wanted apple to be evil. Apple didn't even get a single vote. Yeah, so we did struggle to get a trope for Apple yesterday. He was the one that we couldn't find the trope for, but I ended up finding it in the end. Token good teammate basically sums Apple up, and it's here. So to sum that up, it says, a token good teammate is someone in the team whose greater principles stick out like a sore thumb. A typical example might be a justified criminal forced to go native among real criminals, perhaps because of deliberate persecution or simple error by the government. Despite their high moral standards, they need not be the heart for the party, as they may not be interfering with their questionable activities. They can remind the others or teach them for the first time that there is more at stake than money, power, or personal vendettas. Alternatively, there may be someone who simply holds themselves aloof from the debauchery of the rest of a team. In extreme examples, they may become hated by the characters as they try and voice their ideas on others. Okay, and this bit is the interesting bit. They will likely have struggles between loyalty to their friends and their conscience, creating inner conflict and conflict with their teammates. So that was the thing that made me think, yes, that's Apple, because he ultimately is the good one in the group. And he has loyalty to them because they're fellow fruits. There's nobody else he could be with if they weren't around. He'd be alone in this world. Poor Apple. So that loyalty makes him stick with them, but he does have more of a conscience. Let's just read the rest, because you never know what ideas it can appear from these things. So, alternatively, a token good teammate can be found amongst a group of dastardly villains in order for the show to make sure that the antagonist side does not go too black in terms of morality. Yeah, that's basically it. Job Cheeks basically said that the day before yesterday. Perhaps his character shows restraint in doing atrocious evil, or is forced against their own will to be a bad guy due to a hostage or some other leverage held by bad guys. Well, that's not the case for Apple, but it's an interesting one. Has other goals that are noble but require them to be on the bad guy side, or is merely just following orders from the higher ups that they have sworn loyalty to. High honor standards can cause such his character has a high chance to become a sympathetic character that the audience can root for, or perhaps even call it quits and jump ship to the good guys. They may also be the team face by virtue of not being an asshole. And the other members will trust them more than each other, and had this character talk to the muggles when needed. Pardon me. Expect the token and teammate to be killed off by the big bag to show how ruthless they are. Imagine if Tomato just killed Apple. My God. Compare token evil teammate, token wholesome, and hero antagonist. Well, that's what he'd do if he weren't with him, maybe. Who knows? And they do have the opposite trope as well, for someone who's on a team of goodies and there's an evil one in there. Oh yeah. So I was glad I found that trope for Apple, because we were looking yesterday and it was like, where's we need that sort of trope for Apple, the only good guy among the bad guys kind of trope. Right, so for characterization, I'd say we're kind of ready to move on to writing dialogue now. There's still probably gaps to fill in, but we can always do that as we go along. That's part of the fun. And we have some quotes here, some dialogue ideas that we had that don't have a place right now, but they're there anyway in case. And I'm going to do, this is what we usually do that when we write a dialogue. This is how we've done it for the other scenes. So we're going to do the same thing today with the fruits now. We'll start putting it all together. So I'm totally unplanned for this. I'm not gonna have a clue what dialogue to write, so some of it will be incomplete and very rough around the edges, but we'll treat it like a first draft today, and tomorrow's stream we can work on making it even better. And it would be really cool if for next week, starting Monday, we can actually start doing the actual scene in RPG Maker and then move on to the boss battle by the end of the week next week. Progression. So instead of putting their dialogue conversation on this sheet, I might make another one, because I did hear that this can start lagging when it's got too much on it, and it's already got quite a lot on here now. But this is kind of a plan of our conversations. It's actually scene 9 and 10 that we're going to be working on during April, I'd say. This is scene 9, the one that we're going to be doing now. Scene 10 is the one that comes after the boss fight. And this is all just basically a list, scenes 1 to 10, of all the scenes that we've done in episode 1 so far. So it's pretty cool. And once we've done that scene 9 and 10, we'll have kind of done a lot of stuff, and it'll just be about polishing what we've already done at that point and starting to do new quests. So that will be fun as well, and we'll probably open up side quests as well once we finalise the boss battle in scene 10, because the party will be free to return to Lakefall at that point and hand in the quest once they've killed the boss. And that will probably open up some side quests at that point once we're back in Lakefall. And I'm very excited for that. Been excited for it for a while. So I'm gonna... Can we duplicate? Make a copy, I think that's it. So I think it's Google Drive, and that's where I put them all. It's also the 1st of April today. No April Fool's jokes in this stream. I haven't seen a single one today, thank goodness. Right, so should we rename this copy of dialogue for episode 1 scenes? What I'm going to call this, instead of dialogue for episode 1 scenes, I'm going to call it episode 1 I'm going to call it episode 1 main quest. Yeah, actually episode 1 part 2, I think, because that'll help a lot, and we can start splitting up the dialogue rather than have one whole massive big sheet with all the dialogue of episode 1, because it will start lagging. So gonna just make sure we obviously don't overwrite this one. So is that still there? I apologise if it blinds you, because the screen goes very bright then. That's why I like to do this grey background, this dark grey background, so it breaks things up a bit for everyone's eyes. So yeah, we've still got that there, which means we can start deleting these scenes here. And we can have a fresh new sheet for the fruit conversation. So let's delete so many dialogue boxes, though I may copy and paste some from the other sheet just so we can get the same style and look of the boxes. Here we go. So I'm actually going to write here. See, Edward's included on this page. We'll keep that there just because it's nice to know exactly what we've got on here and what we haven't. So scene 9, find Hazel and counter fruits boss 1 not started and after the battle before. Yep, so there we go. This page will have scene 9 and 10 on it, and we might put the scene 7, 8 and 6, 7 and 8 on here too because they are part of main quest 2 as well, but scenes 1 to 5 will definitely be going on a separate page because they're for main quest 1. My goodness, it's cold today. Does this really warm you up doing that? I heard a rumour that it does, but it doesn't work for me. Hi, your accent is amazing. Thank you, Hypnotoad. Appreciate that. How are you doing today? I like your name because I like toads. They're cute. Okay, so we'll label that as scene 9. It just keeps things organised. So I'm also going to put main quest 2. It's difficult now because it isn't scene 9 of main quest 2, is it? It's actually scene 4 of main quest 2, but it's scene 9 of the whole of episode 1. So I'm going to call it episode 1 instead. Just so we're not... I don't want to confuse myself also when I get back to this, so I want to make sure I get the labelling correct. Okay. I might eventually once we start getting loads and loads of scenes, I might rename them to the quests rather than episode 1, because otherwise we could end up with like 50 scenes and it could get a bit much. I'm splendid, thank you very much, and how are you doing on this beautiful evening? I'm doing decently, Hypnotoad. Just doing stuff with dialogue today. So it's always a fun part, though it can be sometimes you need to rack your brains to come up with a good amusing dialogue line, but that's where you guys come in because you guys help me out. Okay, so we can delete that. Delete that. This is all stuff from the very first scene of the game, so we're gonna replace that with the dialogue for this scene, but I kind of want to make sure we'll keep the empty boxes, I think, so that we can use them. But I will probably be doing some copying and pasting. One thing I want to do is what I did here, which is put their avatars, their character pixel sprites, because it's nice and visual and it just makes it more clear who's saying what. So we usually use these blue boxes for describing the scene before we get into the dialogue. So let's revisit our scene description. So the party see a painter's easel. Carol demands that Rose paints a picture of who took her son. So we'll work on this bit by bit. So the hero and the party. Well, yeah, the hero and the party arrive at... Do they call it the heart of the Everbloom Forest? I might need to revisit that dialogue. Make sure we're consistent with what we... I know it's Ancient Overlook is the official name that we gave this area that we're in now. I might call it that instead. Yeah, the heart of the Everbloom Forest. is arrive at ancient overlook, the heart of Everbloom Forest. So that just helps describe the scene. Carol sees a painter's easel, I'll probably say. So it's unfortunately, because we deleted the dialogue, it did get rid of the formatting, which is a butt face. And the only flaw I have with this piece of software, because I do like it. I like it apart from that. So we're going to not delete the dialogue. So you just make them text, or you program and design it as well. What do you mean by, do I program and design the entire game, or do I just do text? I do the whole thing. I'm making an entire game with project commands here. Also, I have all the... Oh, the bot already said that, so it's there twice now. I've also got all the streams ever from the very first one up till now on YouTube. So if you're curious, have a little nosy. But yeah, so whenever it's a dialogue or scene thing, I don't put dialogue directly into the in-game editor. I don't think that's good planning. I like to do it on a special program and in an organised way. And then when it's all done and we're happy with how it's written, and all the typos and anything that's a bit weird and wooden is corrected, that's when I put it all into the program at the end. Because it's an RPG, it's a dialogue heavy game, it's gonna be a lot of that stuff. Right, so Carol, we can call her Carol now because she has a name now. We were introduced to her once we watch her flashback in the previous scene. I'm gonna say Carol sees the painter's easel in the centre of the centre of the what? Just say centre. So the scene is here. I can get RPG Maker up now to give some context to the scene for you all. Let's get it up, because I don't actually have it open right now because we're not actually working in it. Well, impressive, I tip my hat to you, thank you. I mean, it's always ambitious doing something like this, so I have to make sure I'm not being arrogant and saying yes, I'll do everything, because I'm not. I take resources online that are given out for free for any kind of game project, commercial or non-commercial, and I make the most of that. But I kind of just put it together, my job is to grab what I can, anything that'll fit well for the project. I'll make my own original assets if necessary, if we've got some super unique characters that, like barrels that are living and fruits that are living, for example, they're pretty unique, so I had to do those myself. And it was fun, but not every character in the game is going to be done from scratch because it's time consuming, and I don't want to put that sort of pressure on myself, that's for sure. This is somewhat long term, that's going to go on for a very long time, like years, so I have to be sensible about it and make sure I'm not putting all my energy too much into things, and always want to keep it chill and enjoyable. Right, so let's just hide that. Here we go. So here's the scene. Let's get rid of the squares because we can't see it as well. So this is Ancient Overlook, which is the 6th map of our forest. That is the first zone of our game. So we've got all these areas as well that you have to go through first to get there. But this is where we encounter the first boss, and this is where they are. So that is their cute little sprites, and we've got a side point there right now, but it'll probably be gone. We only had that there for testing purposes, and that is the easel. And we were wondering together, a few of us, me and chat, if we should have more easels around with paintings on them. It would give me an opportunity to, I don't know, do some foreshadowing or develop these characters more. But right now we've just got the one, and it's a blank one, and it's all going to be related to the plot why that's there. So what I am going to do as well, let's move that save point out the way. I probably will take a screenshot, I think, and pop it into our document just as a reference image. So let's get it in paint. Save. So I think we can put in images. But my brain's in a blank and I'm not sure how we do that. File. Okay, I think I know how I did it before. I think I just drag it like that. Image too big? No way. Not too big. Okay, so we'd have to resize it. There's no point in putting it in if we have to make it smaller, because it's not going to show off the scene properly. If I need to, I'll just open RPG Maker. It's not about the visuals anyway, this part, isn't it? It's about the writing, so we just have to imagine it in our heads. Okay. We don't need to put Carol's name there twice. Use a paint season in the centre. And she's going to say something. It makes sense for her to be the first character to say something, but we'll get her sprite. So you guys know who Carol is, and if you're a regular, everybody knows Carol. And then the next thing that happens. Right, so she basically demands that Rose paints a picture of who took her son. So, visit. I've got a sheet. Let me get my sheet out. because it has some barrel curse words on there that we all came up with together, like son of a bucket being one of them. And it kind of would fit in this point for her to be shocked. She's going to be surprised because she knows that this will solve all her problems. And if you know if you've been following the story, you'll know why. But if you don't, then you will know eventually. Because I'll be releasing another Story So Far video anyway, at some point this month. Because I'm pretty confident we'll get all this stuff, this part done that we've been working on by then. So we've got son of a bucket, flesh bag, meat sack. I think son of a bucket was like really the main one, but flesh bag is like a sort of word that she calls humans. So let me think, because I'm having to improvise here. Because one of the goals of this part is to get it over and done with quickly. We don't want to spend too much time, Carol, telling Rose to paint, because we want to get the fruits introduced. So, and I'm not one for fluffing dialogue. I'm more the minimal writer. So, of course, character development's important as well. Right, so son of a bucket. I like it, but I'm very much like, if anyone's got any barrel swear words that they think would really be amusing, then I make a list of them. Anything really that is a reference to a container or wood. Wood usually, it'd likely be a swear word for a barrel. For barrels to say, if it has a ring to it, of course. Has to have a ring to it. It has to sound very natural, and that you know instantly what it is, that it's a barrel swear word. If people are scratching their heads like, what's that mean? Then it probably isn't suitable to have as a fictional curse word. I think minimal dialogue is good for these style games. Yeah, what style games? Like JRPGs, 2D RPGs in general? Twisted Mouse, is that what you mean? And I mean, there's a line, isn't there? Like, I'm very fond of dialogue. I adore dialogue. I adore stories. I adore characters and character development. But I don't see the point in adding unnecessary boxes of dialogue that don't need to be there, that don't add to the scene. If it doesn't add to the character or to the story, then I would consider cutting it, because it's just fluff, and fluff eventually starts to get a bit boring, and that's when people start skipping. The goal is to make sure that the player is at all times really excited to see what's going to be the next thing said. If you can do that, I think you've succeeded. Rather than them like getting like snoozy and let's get this over with already, sort of thing. So that's kind of what I want to try and do. I want to make sure this is going to be a dialogue heavy game, don't get me wrong, because it's all going to be about characters, lore, building the world and everybody living within it, and because that's what I enjoy. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you have to have fluff that's not needed. Moon Shadow, Twinsy, how you doing, Moon? It's good to see you. Yeah, well, pixel based idea. I think with any game, in all honesty, in my opinion, 3D RPGs, for example, they're no different. Final Fantasy 14 as an example, that's a 3D RPG MMO. They do too much, in my opinion, too much dialogue. I adore the game, like, don't get me wrong, I love it with all my heart, but there is a lot of fluff there in a lot of the scenes. Not so much the main quest, but in the side quest stuff. And like the cutscenes, they're perfect, like the actual voice acted scenes, but it's when you get the non-voice acted stuff, it just goes on a bit too much. And that's a 3D RPG, so no matter what game, I think they all should like take that into account. But I suppose you mean if it's not voice acted, and any parts that aren't voice acted, it can wear a bit thin, I suppose, if there's too much all the time. And if it adds to the story, if it adds to the scene, and the scenes are interesting, and they're not just talking heads, for example, and it's, it could work as long as every single word, every single sentence adds something to the story. I think long dialogue has its place, but for some people will skip. Yeah, I was going to say that, but also depends on the writing too. Very true. Doing all right, being a rough night though. That message debacle last night really messed me up way too much. What even happened, me? I don't know the story, but it sounds like horrible. Like that happened to me. I'd have wanted to disappear. I'd have wanted to. My goodness. But just so you know, Moon, the person was mistaken. They should have sent it to you. It clearly was a typo when you heard that it wasn't for you, because it should have been. I do love all the cutscenes though. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so that's always going to be the goal with the dialogue, guys. To make sure we making the story, we need to keep the dialogue entertaining, advance the story, make the characters lovable and enjoyable, but just so that there's no fluff. Anytime it seems like we're going on a bit, I'll be tempted to be like, okay, we don't need that particular dialogue box. Let's just get straight to it, sort of thing. And that's what we're going to do here. So Carol will see the easel and she'll say what's necessary, but then think we won't dilly-dally. We'll get to introducing the fruits. Like this scene, this was a very long scene, just using it as an example for Carol's flashback. Like this was all the dialogue. I mean, it's not loads of dialogue, but it's the most I've done for this game so far in one scene. All that basically. A lot of games have a lot more than that in scenes, that's for sure. But even though it was long, it was important for it to be somewhat lengthy, because we're meeting 5 new characters in this scene, and I wanted to show each of them their personalities one by one, and develop them somewhat. So that was important for that scene. And there wasn't any fluff. Like every dialogue box added something to the conversation and added something to the character's personality. And some of it foreshadows things to come as well. So make sure it's substance, guess you'd say. I like the way you plan your scenes. Thank you, Mice. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so son of a book here. Right, I'm totally improvising this, so because there's no plan for how these scenes are going to go at the moment. There's no plan in my head for what they're going to be saying. All I know is the outline of the scene that we wrote up here, the plan from beginning to end for when the boss battle begins. So the goal of today is just to get a rough dialogue idea of this scene up until the boss battle. That's what I'm going to do, and it'll probably be a bit rough around the edges, but if we can get it in, it's better than having nothing in. And the goal will be to improve the dialogue over the course of the day and over tomorrow as well, probably. So I'm gonna, it's always a bit daunting when you're writing a dialogue and you're thinking, oh, because you've got to get into the characters' heads, and when there's more than one character, that's always a challenge. And Carol the Barrel, she is an aggressive lady, and that is something I'm not, so getting into her head is definitely a challenge. So I imagine her seeing this easel and she's like, son of a bucket. Right, let's just remind myself of the last thing that Carol said. Okay. She was annoyed. This was the last time Carol spoke in the scene before. She was annoyed because Rose can't talk. Because Rose is a mute. Rose is my character and she's a mute. But she knows a secret. She knows where Carol's family are. Well, she knows who took them at least anyway. And because she can't talk, that's a bit complicated because she can't tell Carol what she needs to know. And Carol's depressed because of that, which is evident from that there. And Rose is about to be sacrificed to the monsters, but Carol she don't care about that. She's just like, you're useless anyway. But all her dreams have come true when she's laid eyes on the painter's easel in the middle of the forest, because she thinks Rose can paint a picture for me. She can paint the picture of who took her son. Well, not just her son, but the whole of her kin, really. But the son is the one she cares most about. So she will probably say something like, son of a bucket. Now, this is probably going to be very rough around the edges and we'll probably change and alter some. But I'm going to just put in whatever comes to my head. How's the lovely Rose today, though? Not doing too bad, Moon. It's a bit chilly today. But this is why I have a cosy blanket right here. How about you, Moon? Thanks for stopping by today, by the way. I appreciate it, Moon. It's always good to see your face. Well, can't see your face, but you know. Right, son of a bucket. So something like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be look over there, but something that makes the player realise that Carol's talking about the easel. And Carol will probably jump and face the easel anyway, but she needs to make it clear that that's what she's looking at. So she'd probably say something like, look over there, and then she'll be like, she'll probably face Rose as well at that time. After she said that, faces Rose. You. Oi. She says oi a lot. So let's just look at some of the language Carol uses so we can get into her character. Because tone of voice is very important to me. I like every character to have their own voice, so that, especially when it's not voice acted, I feel that's important in games that aren't voice acted, because you risk every character sounding the same otherwise. So if you can make the dialogue have its own voice as best as you can, it just makes it more fun as well. Hi Lord, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. Bit chilly here as well, but got myself a nice blanket. We both have. We both have. I'm going to strip into my onesie at the end of stream as well, as I always do. Okay, so she says things like, get out. She's violent, so she shouts a lot. Get out. Wait up, flashback. Always very hostile, always very aggressive, lots of exclamation marks, lots of demands like you should, I should. that sort of way she speaks. Let's have a look at this. So, oi flashback, listen up. So we gotta stay consistent in Carol's voice. We can't be making her into this soft-spoken person, and she doesn't show vulnerability. We have to keep the hostility as best as we can. And it can always be a challenge when you're writing a story with multiple characters not to slip into other voices. So I like to remind myself the way they speak so we can get into that voice. Hey Rose, hi Chubb, how you doing? Welcome back to the stream. We're getting straight into the dialogue today, Chubb. So we're we kind of going to be doing this sort of thing. We did this for Carol's flashback. We're going to get ourselves the dialogue boxes planned with what character says what in from beginning to end, basically. And it's probably going to, like I said earlier, it's going to be rough around the edges at first because this is our first draft. But we'll just like improve and tidy it up as we go along. So this is what we're doing now. It's scene 9 of episode 1. The hero and the party arrive at ancient overlook the heart of the ever-blooming forest. See the painters easing in the centre. Son of a bucket, look over there. Faces Roy's. Oi. So does she call Rose any other names, or is it only Fleshbag so far? Because I love Flashback, but I don't want to get too repetitive. Oh, Cruncher. Yeah, it's actually Cruncher as well that she calls Rose. She's called her love there, but that was sarcasm. She wouldn't call her love like now. Yeah, so I'd say she'd say Cruncher. She calls the hero Flashbag mainly, but she tends to call any human a Flashbag. Cruncher's the name she gives Rose because Rose is a vampire, and it's kind of meant to be a derogatory term for her, Carol's derogatory term. Maybe it's something that vampires will get called by a few people in the game. Maybe it's a general slur, a vampire slur. So it isn't a very nice word, is it? Cruncher. It's actually a bit cold here in Australia too, is it? In Aussie? I was saying yesterday about, I wonder if there's anyone from Australia who can to streams, because it's usually super late for you guys, isn't it, when I stream? Last time I wrote a script, I ended up with every character sounding, well, basically like me, I guess. Giving characters voice is a skill I lack. Yeah, it's a challenge, and I am far from perfect at this myself, but I think it helps to be aware of these things, so you can still do it the best you can. So it's always something to be aware of, I think, because without being aware of that, it'd just be so easy to make every character sound the same. So I think it can work wonders. It is rather late, but I've had no work, so I've just been working on learning RPG Maker. Oh, awesome. Well, if you ever get some stuff done, make sure to pop it in our Creative Work Discord channel. That's for sure. Oi Cruncher. So she demands, so it won't be out of character for Carol to say something like, paint a picture of who took my Ollie. Get over there and paint She can say who took my son, but she can also my Ollie, but it all depends. Like, we could go so many directions with how we word these sort of lines. So she's demanded her to get over there. And because of the way Carol is, she is hostile and very demanding as with her personality in general. It's not weird for her to just say something like that. Somebody else who's more softly spoken and well mannered would probably be a lot more polite at saying such a thing. So something of that tone could work. I don't know word for word whether that's what I want yet, but like I said, this is just a first draft. We can do any... I always worry I'm a bit wooden sometimes, so sometimes if there's ever a way to make a sentence sound more natural, then I'm always up for hearing suggestions. I'm going to be here, but in a more lurky way than usual. Awesome, Chub. Well, I super appreciate the lurk. We'll do feedback, would be awesome. Yay. My Ollie sounds better to me. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. That was my first thought, to put my Ollie, because his name's Oliver and Ollie's kind of his nickname. And it's nice to show Carol's vulnerability, like her care towards her son. He's the only person she really gives a damn about. I mean, she loves the other barrels too, but she's more about Oliver, really, than the others. Though, of course, she still cares, but it is all about Oliver for her because she's so precious. So, get over there and paint a picture of who took Merlin. I'm worried that paint a picture of who took my Ollie's a bit wordy. I'm wondering if that could be broken down into less words. So we'll think about that in a bit. But yes, it has changed a bit because before, Carol was going to demand that Rose paints a picture of where Oliver was taken, but I've changed it recently to who has took Oliver, because I had some ideas for who that person's going to be, and it's going to lead to the next story, the next part of the story, the next quest of the game, and it was far easier doing it that way than having the location of where she took where they were taken. So I briefly discussed it a few streams ago about who Rose is going to paint. We know it's going to be a reptile, that's for sure, but the question, we don't know which reptile yet, whether it's Chub Cheeks or a minion. It's likely not going to be Rex, the reptile, because his character's story is probably is unrelated to the Carol companion kidnapping, but Chub Cheeks is probably linked to all the stuff going on with the Raindrop corruption, and either he did it himself, the cart hijacking, or he got one of his minions to do it for him. So that is likely the person Rose saw and was with on the cart when she jumped on it. And we will probably, I'm not sure if we're going to do a poll on that yet, or we'll see if either of them fit the story better, but that'll be something we decide when we begin main quest 3 and when we actually draw the painting. So that will be fun. It could be a very handsome reptile, or it could be a reptile that isn't me. Yeah, because it would totally work either way, you know. You are armoured up for a start, but the wings, because we've decided your wings are going to be out of your armour, that would reveal that you was a reptile, even though Rose wouldn't know you was a reptile from the face. But any minion you have is likely showing its face, because most reptiles aren't armoured up like Chub. That's one of Chub's rare qualities. He's armoured. Or a reptile dysfunction. Oh my god, what a pun. Right. So I get over there and paint a picture of who took my Ollie. And then it says, I'll put that there at the side. Rose obliges and starts painting on the canvas with her blood. So Rose doesn't refuse. And Rose doesn't talk back anyway. She's with Rose's character, because she's a mute, we have to make her it's all about facial expressions with Rose, really, to get across how she's feeling. And she'll probably have a certain facial expression when Carol has demanded that she does this. I'm up for considering what sort of facial expressions they'll be. So let's get a Rose dialogue box copy, because what I usually do when doing Rose's dialogue boxes, I just put in like this happy face or angry face or disappointed face, because that helps me when I make the scene. Then I know what facial expression to give her. I was thinking it could be me doing a whole, if a job needs doing, I will do it myself kind of thing after the spellcaster discarded the barrels. Yeah, and I'd say it wouldn't be, your character seemed like the sort of character who's quite a doer and would do things. And being as you have a hamster, well, you want a hamster mount. We know that the hamster starts off small and you want the spellcaster to make him big for you. So at this point in the story, or in the past when the flashback was happening, you probably didn't have your hamster mount at that point, and that's why you just used the horse instead of your hamster mount. Because otherwise there would have been a hamster there in the flashback but there wasn't. But there's always a way to get around those things, and we could just say, oh, the hamster weren't done yet, the spellcaster hasn't made him big enough to ride yet. So it's a very random for anyone that doesn't have a clue what this is all about, but there's going to be a giant hamster mount in the game at some point, and he's going to be little at first. And because, you know, you want a hamster mount, if you're not a doer, if you're not someone that does things yourself, why would you have a mount in the first place? So that tells me, yes, you're the sort of person that would just go out there and do things. You'd go out there, fight, you'll go out there and get involved and do jobs. So for sure, you could totally have done the actual hijacking and thought, I'm just going to get those barrels myself. I had a weird idea that me and the spellcaster could have had a fight after I called him useless and they cast a spell at me and it deflects off my armour and makes the hamster big. That would be quite funny and amusing as well. Like if it was an accident that from the spell, but he was made big rather than something you asked the spellcaster to do. For sure. But from the sequence of events, obviously we'll have to have that argument happen at a time when the right moment to make the hamster big will be. But that's very, well, we'll figure something out, that's for sure. So I'm going to copy what you're saying again, Chub, because these notes are useful to refer to, especially when we get to the main quest 3 and we start talking about the reptiles more. These sort of notes that we've made will be something I want to refer back to. And it's all I'm very glad that I've introduced the reptiles early at this point, once we've seen Rose paint a reptile, because it's going to just really go nicely with the other reptile plots in the game, because it was always a thing I was wondering about. I was thinking, how are we going to get the reptiles involved in the story? Because they were always going to be an early game introduction, because there's a history with Lakefall with them as well. There was a massacre that happened, and that might be more related to Rex's plot, but we'll say there's going to be stuff going on with the reptiles and different reptile characters, and it'll be fun. But who knows, maybe the massacre could be in Chub, maybe it's Rex, maybe it's another reptile, or maybe it's both. We don't know yet. These things are yet to be seen, but we know for a fact that your Chub is going to be part of the Raindrop stuff. He's like, in this lore video we've done, the antagonist that's talked about in that video is like probably Chub Cheeks, you know. very likely to be. Yeah. Are you gonna? You are gonna need my own file soon? Yeah. And you've started that, haven't you? Because I remember you putting it in the Discord, and I will obviously be having a read of that when it comes to focusing on your character. Because once we finish this scene with the fruits, there will be no more fruit talk. That'll be over and done with, and we'll be moving on to the next characters that we have to write about, and a lot of it will be YouTube. Okay, so, but it depends, because like, even though we know like about Chubb, because we'll have seen his picture painted, we might not have introduced him for a while yet. Their goal will be to find him first. We'll know about him as a character, but it might take us a bit of time to actually find him. We'll see, won't we? I haven't updated it. I should probably update it with the new name I want for him. Yeah, no rush at all. Whenever you get a chance, Chubb. But it's not like, you know, we're going to be doing it next week or anything. So there's plenty of time. Right, so it won't be a happy face that Rose has. It's hard to put an expression down for that. I'd say that she'd be willing because she wants to help. She's certainly not going to be mad. It's maybe a slightly surprised face. I always prefer to have the arrows white because they stand out more. Yeah, full points. And it does let you have a grid, which I do like, because you can like align everything properly and it just looks much nicer like that and tidier. But sometimes I do like to hide it as well. I like to tidy it up at the end, really. Okay, so slightly surprised face. So instead of doing like separate dialogue boxes for every action, I tend to keep a box per character. Sorry. There we go. I actually did prepare to mute. I had my mouse hovered over the mute button and everything, and I didn't. The cough came out first, so I apologise, folks. Right, so it was cute. Well, at least it didn't make your ears bleed. That's all I want to make sure of, that none of you were like, oh my goodness, what was that? We heard the cough, then after that you mute. Did I? Oh God, I'm such a doofus. I did such a silly thing yesterday as well. I was like, I'm going to hide this screen because I don't want you guys to see who voted for what. And it was there the whole time, the votes. Didn't even have them hidden. I always like to say I'm going to do it, and then I end up accidentally not doing it. You're such a derp, I know. It's my part of the charm. Okay, so we'll put these on, start to paint with the rain blood. So I'm actually going to put those on the same well, no, I won't, because it'll mess up the arrows and what points they're pointing at. So we're at this point now. The group are interrupted by the monsters of the Everbloom Forest. A gang of fruits holding paintbrushes and palettes was not what they expected. Well, the thing is, we're not going to know that they're holding paintbrushes and palettes at this point, because if we go to the scene, I'm going to just open it right now. The sprites don't actually have paintbrushes and paintbrushes because it looked very bad on such small pixel sprites, and they just look better not holding them. So it's not until the battle that you see them with their paint and paintbrushes, which works. It's not like they have to have them here. It's not like it's super important. The main thing is in battle they have them, because that's their weapons. So we can always edit it to just a gang of fruits was not what they expected. Can just edit it to that. So now we do have a couple of questions to consider as well. I'm just going to point that there. It's meant to be there. How do the fruits reveal themselves? So obviously that is something to consider, but it's not something we have to think of right this instant and sort out, because we're not doing the scene making today. When we do the scene making, that will be something we'll need to know. There was a few ideas, such as, are they going to jump down? Are they going to appear from behind a tree or a bush? Or are they in a fruit bowl? Like something that looks like a bowl. And they pop out and yell, this art lesson is over, or something similar, and possibly have a painting of a bowl of fruit next to them. And I'm not sure about the painting of the bowl of fruit, but I really do like the idea of having them act as a bowl of fruit, the fruits themselves, by being in a bowl. And yeah, a fruit basket could be what is the bowl, so that would fit in with the forest scenery without being too jarring. We don't want a kitchen bowl because that wouldn't fit with the scene, the forest environment. So if we just had something like that, that could work. Like, let me find that picture. One sec, folks. The Caravagions, is that what it's called? Fruit. Right, so this is a famous painting that the fruits are actually inspired by. So having them positioned like that would kind of give reference to that painting, because that is actually what the boss is named, the Caravagions. I can't say the word because it's very hard to pronounce, but because the boss is named that anyway, and that was won by a poll, by the way, everyone in the community wanted the fruits to be named after this painting of a bowl of fruits. They found it a good reference, and I thought it was quite clever too. Having them sort of reenacting that, you know, would be quite a smart move, especially if they're not showing their faces at first. Like at the moment here in the scene, this is as zoomed in as I can get, but if you look closely you can see they've got their faces on show here. But when they're in the bowl, they could just be a fruit without a face, but then when they pop out and say something, they can show their face then, one at a time. Because I think, yeah, somebody also said it would be cool if they pop out one at a time and have their little say, rather than introduce them all in one go, because it can be a bit overwhelming to the senses to have so many characters on the screen at once. So yeah, like they could be in this bowl of fruit, and then the first one shows its face, pops out and says something, and then the others gradually do as well when there's a time for them to say something. So that was an idea that me and all the community thought could work well. Chubb was the one that mentioned the fruit bowl, and I think it might have been Yasmin, but it could have been someone else that mentioned one at a time. they could come out. So that's why I put one. Just one pops out and shouts, then the others pop out one by one after that. So the first one that pops out will be the one that shouts at the party for attempting to vandalise the property. We'll have to say which fruit we think would suit saying that the most. And then eventually they'll all be on the scene. All 5 of them will have jumped out of the bowl and showed their face. So at the moment we've got what could be a forest object that looks like a bowl, and there's a fruit basket, a picnic basket as well. So let's get that in. Picnic basket. Oh, that's cool. Yay. My word, it's a British look-alike. High tech, I get that every day. It's just a thing now, and I'm not even shocked anymore because it's just every day. At first I was like, oh, okay, maybe I don't think I do, but that's interesting. It must be the really dark hair and pale skin and and the pigtails. And then it just started being something I got all the time. So I'm just like, yeah, it's a thing now. I've embraced it. But welcome to Stream Tech. They could turn around or something in the bowl, and that could add more humour to. Yeah, that's something that's really kind of adorable as well, like the way they introduce themselves, which is going to be a shock for the player when they find out that they're horrible and evil, because we want to make them think, oh, they're cute, like first, but then it all comes out that they're not cute at all. Right, so they turn around. Right, so I always struggle finding the scroll bar here because it's the same colour as the UI, which I think isn't good. So I've just updated that. I hid the screen by accident, but there I've added picnic basket, and I've added they turn around / pop out and yell. If anybody has any other ideas about a forest object that could represent a bowl, then feel free to say it, and I'll make a list and we'll see, because I need to check the assets and see if there is any assets of these objects as well. So the more choice the better, of course. If you could make it similar to that painting, it would be perfect. Yeah, like having an actual paint of a bowl of fruit doesn't have to be something we do, because that could be either doing it. If we like make it obvious just from the scene and positioning of the fruits in the bowl themselves, that could be enough. And yeah, having it look like, because let's get it up again, the bowl of fruit. It was a sort of straw basket, wasn't it? The Decavogion's fruit. Yeah, it was like that. So it just has to be believable. Would it be believable if that was in the middle of a forest? I suppose picnics, like you say, people are going out for picnics. Someone could have left a basket behind, and a human could have definitely have done that. They could have thought, let's have a picnic, and had some fruit in there, and yeah, maybe they were about to be eaten, those fruit, and that's why they hate the humans so much. But definitely some of their fruit friends had got eaten by humans, that's for sure. Maybe the grapes and the pear were originally in there but got eaten, and that's why they're not in there anymore. And that's why they're really mad right now. Okay, so Next dialogue line. That would be a funny plot twist, yeah. Right, so walks up to easel and starts to paint with her own blood. And then what did we say is the next bit? Okay, so they're interrupted at this point. Rose can't finish the painting because the bowl is there and it's always been there. Let's say that on this scene we haven't done it yet and we've just got them positioned anywhere right now. But let's say that there's a bowl somewhere, well, the picnic basket or whatever, it's somewhere here with the fruit inside, but it's kind of like the focus isn't on it. They care more about the easel at this point in time because Carol was obsessed with it when she saw it. She was like, paint for me now. And it took the attention away from this fruit basket under a tree or something. And then all of a sudden when Rose does start painting, that is when one of them opens its eyes and jumps out. So let's word that. We don't know which fruit it is yet, so I'll just put question mark, but we will decide soon. I don't think we need to put a poll up for the answers to these questions, like which fruit shouts the part, for example, because we'll only really have the choice out of a couple of fruits which one's going to do that anyway, based on their personality, and you know, we have to make it fit. We don't want to risk an inappropriate fruit saying that. Like apple wouldn't be the one to shout at the party, it'll be the most hostile one that's going to do that. I mean, you'd think the leader would do that, but it would be like somebody who sort of would put themselves on the front line and be a leader, but also be hostile too. So in my opinion, it's more likely going to be tomato or lemon that shout at the party for vandalising the property, because those two are definitely the types that go out there and get aggressive. Okay, so one of the fruits, well, we'll say shouts. We don't need to do that because the dialogue will say that. Turns around and pops out a fruit bowl, something like that. And jumps out of fruit basket. Yeah, say fruit basket. And they'd say something like, well, we have a couple of ideas. We've got this art lesson is over. We also have something like, get away from our property, or something to that degree. It could be anything like that. Anything that is like, you stop what you're doing right now. Just get away from our stuff. So we've got to be careful we don't get repetitive though, because funnily enough, Carol the Barrel said something very similar in an earlier scene. She said, where is it? She said, you voided my extended warranty. You're not going anywhere without me. You're responsible for covering any damages. Hang on, let me just get the context of that scene. Can't find the scroll bar again. Yeah, so Carol talks about damages and things like that, so we don't want to get too repetitive with that dialogue. So but what's the next dialogue that comes after that? Because I like to think ahead before deciding, because I don't want to say it's going to be tomato that says, and we find out later that there would have been a better time for tomato to make their appearance. So we just say one of them pop out. One of the fruit sees Rose and they spring into action surrounding the party. They thank So I can see that being Plum, that would be saying, oh, thank you for bringing us our masterpiece. The sort of scientist guy is the one I imagine being that, doing that, because he has the knowledge. But they all need to pop out. I'd say I don't know when the others can pop out, but we'll see. We might have to just write whatever and fill in the spaces between as we go. So I am thinking tomato. It's definitely tomato or lemon, but I don't want to say for sure which one it is at this point. So I'll actually put that tomato lemon because we don't know which one yet. Right, give me a sec because I'm going to refer to my notepad file, guys, because I want to make sure, I want to have a little look at some dialogue stuff people suggested, make sure that I've taken everything into account that was suggested in the other streams. Yeah, I think it would be tomato, thinking about it, because lemon is more slower. Lemon is the older one and he's the defender more than the attacker, which is evident from what we have written here. So I'd say that Lemon's reactions are going to be a bit delayed. Tomato's going to be the one that spots the party there first and he's right at them immediately. Being the attacker and the one with the emotion of rage, it kind of just makes sense. So turns around, opens eyes and jumps out of the fruit basket, and he's a teenager, so we got to get into the voice of a teenager now. So how would an edgy, really evil monster of a teenager talk when he sees somebody buy something that he owns? You know, we need to remember that tomato's the most evil. There's going to be no kindness in this dialogue line. You know, he's going to be straight out there being like, you get away from our property, but in a much more evil way, because that's kind. Saying something like get away from our property is something that Apple would probably say, because he's polite, and that's polite. Scoffer looks down on people. Yeah, just full of rage, full of anger. He just saying something like get away from our property, which is all that's in my head right now. Or even this, you know, anything like that is still too polite. So I'm going to put in brackets. But as we say, sometimes it'd be better to just put anything there at first, anything that comes into our heads, and all the improving we can do at the end or while we're doing it. So for now, we'll just leave that there, and if any of us, me or anyone else, do get any ideas, then we can always replace that. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it, when you're not like that, because it's really challenging to get into that voice. Because I'm nice, so it's really difficult to think in the mind of someone, he's going to be full of rage. Instead of evil, I'll say full of rage. Can we change the colour of that too, just to add emphasis to it? So we'll probably have a few of that, like while we're doing the dialogue today. We're gonna just get through the dialogue. I'd like to just get it all down, all the boxes laid out for the scene. But just put whatever comes into our heads for now, and anything that we feel could be improved on, we can just add brackets to say, well, that this line needs working on. We need it to be more ferocious, or we need it to be more this or that. I'll just literally do that for the future lines if we had that again. He could sorry, I'm getting the coughs. He could call Carol old lady or something to insult. Oh my goodness. Because for Tomato, Carol is an old lady to him. Carol's not even that old, but for Tomato as a teen, anybody's old, right? So I do like that approach. What I am going to do is what we've done in the past when we've made notes with our dialogue for community ideas. Always struggling to find that scroll bar. I need to see if I can change the colour of it, if that's even possible. So what I usually do is I grab a box and I put some notes underneath the appropriate box. Where are we? It always does this. It puts us miles away. Must remember to do the paste into place. Okay, here we are. So if we put this under, obviously delete that stuff because that's for the other scene. Say something like Tomato could call, and it could be something even more offensive than old lady. It could be like really shocking, because old lady is still polite for Tomato. It could be, yeah, something way worse. But we got to be careful, of course. We don't want to be using real life slurs or anything too offensive in this game. But we always put a fictional twist on it. And I always think that is more amusing than actually using a real life swear word. Tomato could call Carol old lady or something similar. Or Rose. I mean, Rose is the one that's doing the painting, so it could be. I mean, he could be mad at Carol too, because Carol provoked Rose to do the painting, so it could be either of them. So I'm going to put Carol Rose for now in or something similar. Tomato's a teen, so to him, Carol and Rose are old. They're very old. Right, let's catch up with chat. Maybe define, like, come on, stay around and give me a reason to go at you. What, you think like he'll like encourage a fight? Is that what you mean, Lord? Hey, creaky old lady, back off from that stuff. So let me just, that's good, because it adds, I love the word in front of old lady, it just adds so much. So names for Carol, creaky old lady. Oh my god. But it's what you could imagine from a teenager, isn't it? Like some really horrible teenager would say something like that. Names for Rose. So if there's any for Rose as well, that could be cool. Names Tomato would call Carol. Creaky old lady. Oh my goodness, poor Carol will not take kindly to that. Expect her to have a response to that. So let's catch up with chat. Don't make me turn you into wood chips, old lady. I like that too. You creaky piece of wood. You dead tree. Yeah, I wasn't sure who was addressing dry wood, driftwood. So for Carol, it'd be a wood-related insult. And for Rose, it'd be either a human or vampire-related insult, I guess. So something that would be realistic coming from a teenager. But it was interesting about the defiant comment, because that's an emotion I don't think we've really thought about for any of the fruits yet, but looking at each of them, I could definitely imagine tomato would be the most defiant. The others are just a bit like very lazy in comparison to tomato. He's just full of energy and full of like just shocking amounts of rage. He's definitely looking for a fight, so I could believe that too, but we'd need to make it flow with the rest. But you know, even if it doesn't fit in with this particular line, he could say it later in the scene, so we can always make a note here and say tomato encourages the party to fight. If I get off track or ever go off, you know, with what anyone says, then feel free to correct me, of course, because sometimes that can happen. Encourages the party to fight. But anything that gets said in chat, I'm going to make a note of this, because I like to have the ideas all there, and then you guys can bounce off each other and me as well. So that's there, but I can imagine it coming in a bit once he's had a go at them, and once the other fruits have popped out and had something to say as well, because it would be good. We don't want Tomato to be having a conversation with them for too long. We want the other fruits to pop out as well. We want to get them all out quickly, each have their say, and then once they're all there and they've all jumped out the bowl, that's when more conversation can happen. Okay, so back off from our stuff. See, that's good. I like the back off from our stuff language rather than get away from our property, because get away from our property sounds like something an adult would say, a very well-spoken adult, whereas a teen would be more like get away from our stuff. That's a word that teens commonly use, so I agree there. Creaky old lady, don't make me turn you into wood chips, old lady. I also like that dialogue line, so I'm gonna make a box for that as well. So he has taken an instant dislike to Carol. He's not kind of shouting at Rose yet, but he's probably mad at Carol because Carol was the one who like told Rose to do it. So that's how I'm seeing it right now. So what I am going to do is replace get away from our property with you could say back off from our stuff, creaky old lady. And he could like jump in front of Carol or besides Carol when he does jump out the bowl. That's trying to imagine visually how that will work. So it's on what has the best flow to it. Hey, creaky old lady, back off from our stuff, or creaky old lady, back off from our stuff, or back off from our stuff, creaky old lady. We'll see. Is it back away or back off? I'm actually wondering now. Now I can get rid of that now because I think we've improved it. So I like that we've got a voice for Tomato now. He's more the... He definitely uses teenager lingo, so... I'm going to make a note of that as well, just so we remember. Tomato uses teen lingo. And he's a very rude teenager as well. Obviously, he's evil. No politeness at all. To adjust stuff again, we will turn you into a... Well, that's true, because the easels are made out of wood. So, let's get the insults all lifted. So for now, I'm going to get all any insults that said put here, so we've got choice. And we might, you know, there'll be a point in the scene when they might need to say that. I can imagine Carol saying something now to that, and then Tomato will probably say that after that, and then other fruits will come out, because Carol's definitely gonna respond to that, because Carol is, you know, we all know Carol, she's a Sundayer. She will not appreciate being told she's a creaky old lady. So Carol at this point, just get an arrow to that. So Carol I'll say towards Carol here as well, so we remember that that's who he's talking to. Turns to face Tomato, and she's going to say something now. What is Carol going to say? There, that's the question. Got to get into Carol's head. She is not going to be happy, that's all we know. But one thing we do need to do, we need to get their avatars here, just so we can make these boxes look pretty. Have we got Tomato's sprite? Let me find Tomato and Rose's sprites, folks. Little Tommy. Who's little Tommy? Back off from out, yeah. Set off sound Shara and team, like back off, sorry, autocorrect stuff. Oh, so it is back off. Yeah, that's the main. Yeah, back away is more adult, I guess. Okay, so forgot what folder I put these guys in. I might need to open Photoshop actually, because I think they're all on a sprite sheet. So I like to just make the boxes look pretty, and we see it is talking, it just makes it more fun. rather than just leave them a boring white box. My grammar's basically like a team. Yeah, that's great. If we have like somebody who can get into the voice of somebody who is a teenager, then that's perfect, because I struggle with that. I don't know the teen lingo, so it just goes a long way. Like I said, making all the characters have their own unique voice is something I always want to try and make sure I do with dialogue. So SV enemies, I think, no, they're not in there. Characters. Oh, here they are. So guys, I'm going to just open these. These are our fruits, they're sprites. So tomato, I'm gonna we'll get his middle one. I think that'd be a good one. We'll just use it as his dialogue box icon. What a cutie pie, right? He's sort of cute, I guess, even though he's evil. So we'll get him in first. We don't need to do the others yet because they've not been introduced. So we might need to make him a bit bigger. He's a small boy and he's looking pixelated when we make him larger. So all we need to do is double his size. There we go. And that'll probably look a bit better. We're bring him in. Why is he still a small boy? Are we zoomed? Yeah, that should be. I think I did. Oh, I made a mistake, folks. I accidentally saved over something I shouldn't. So let me just save. And then save that. Yeah, I saved it in the wrong folder. I didn't overwrite it. So we'll do it here instead, and that will be fine. There we go, that'll do. So we'll pop him there. So we know that it's tomato. We're just a bit clearer that tomato is the one speaking. If we do that. We could do, I'd like to have roses there as well. I mean, this is just something I just do for visual preference, especially while we're streaming and doing this dialogue together. It just makes it more fun to be able to see which character is who. Especially people who are new and coming in for the first time, they won't have a clue who Tomato is. So actually seeing his sprite, oh, you know, it's cool. So image, crop. I'm just saving rows now. So there we go. So I'm going to drag rows in now. And they're not as sharp as they actually do looking Photoshop and in the game, but that'll do. It's not like we need them to look perfect at this point. I cut hair for a living, so I pay attention to how people talk too. Great, that's awesome. Okay, oh, let's put a... So back up from our Stuffed Creaky lady, Carol. Now let's remind ourselves how Carol talks to people when she is mad, especially when she's been insulted. This is a flashback. She says erg, but that she usually goes erg when there's nothing to say in response. Right, so we can see from here that Carol doesn't get scared. In this particular scene, the hero has said, "Stop calling me flashbag," and pulls out his weapon. And Carol's just like, "What? You'll smash me into pieces to shoot arrows into me? I'm not scared of either of you, flashbag, especially not her." Well, of course she wouldn't be scared of Rose because she's made out of wood, Carol is, and a vampire, as far as Carol's aware, can't hurt wood. So she doesn't fear Carol because of that. So maybe she doesn't fear a tomato either, because what could a tomato do to Carol, right? She can just put the tomato inside her, and she's probably had tomatoes in her a lot, and fruits in general. If we think about what Carol does, she's a barrel. She gets transported from place to place with things inside her, and very likely fruits and goods are things that Carol's had inside her a lot. And she might have met sentient fruits and things that shouldn't be sentient before. This is something Carol is well aware of because she herself is an object that shouldn't be sentient, just like tomato. So she would probably just not take. It's would she take tomato seriously? I don't know whether she'd be shocked because she's, like we said, she herself is an object that shouldn't be alive, just like tomato. I can imagine a human being shocked, thinking, "Why is this tomato alive?" and being shocked. But Carol wouldn't be. Who knows? It's interesting to just think about these things because it's a point I didn't consider. Carol and the fact that both of them had that in common. They're both, Carol and the tomato, both objects that are sentient. So turn to face tomato. We can say for now gets we don't know. I really don't know what she'd say. She could literally just pull a disgusted face and then tomato can say the next bit will turn you into an easel, or either says something insulting back or pulls a disgusted face. We'll leave that open. We'll say. But like we say, we don't want to linger too much with the tomato banter because we've got other fruits to introduce. Got a lot to do in this scene. So if someone could say, if we mix these together, because if we say touch our stuff again, it could be a bit repetitive because we've already had a back away from our stuff line. But if we said something like, "Don't make me turn you into an easel," that's kind of merging these two boxes together then. But that could come from another fruit. I don't know, one that is more, who would be more of a DIY fruit? I mean, we know that he's the one that's the magician, the wizard. He would be, when it comes to magic, he'd be doing the turning, but turning Carol into an easel might not be something he'd particularly do, because he's more magical rather than hands-on. So that sounds more witty too. Yeah, and I don't know if he would have, Tomato has the wit either. That's another thing to consider. Tomato's just, he's just a teenager who just says all these teen lingo words and probably doesn't have wit. He might be a little bit, he might not have the brains for that, you know. So I can definitely imagine more the witty. I wonder if that's something Lemon could say, because I'm thinking definitely not Blueberry, because Blueberry's too young and naive to cut. Like, Blueberry's dialogue would be very minimal, I imagine. Like, he'd just pop out and say a couple of words and pretend to be very cute, but really he's not, because he's freaking sadistic. So he would be like the fruit of few words. He definitely, Plum would be the intelligent one, and he'd be the one who rolls off all the information knowledge, but only really when it comes to magical things. Where, like, he wouldn't be the one to say, I'll turn you into an easel, because that's too hands-on and something more what someone who's good at DIY would do, and Plum wouldn't be that person. So we're left with Apple and Lemon, which means it's not going to be Apple because he's the less hostile one of the group. Apple's the one who would be the least likely to insult the humans out of all of them. So this is why I'm thinking Lemon now, because he's also an angry fruit. And he's probably more witty than Tomato. He's got the age, hasn't he? He's that old, funny guy. He might like have something amusing to say. And witty could fit him more than Tomato, that's for sure. And I could imagine him being a bit more hands-on as well, if anyone out the fruits. So Blue should be like, yeah, what they said, squish. Yeah, he'd be like very silly, wouldn't he, and cute. Like, he'd be like, yeah, like just like follow the crowd sort of person. So like, is that what you mean? Just a dialogue box, Blueberry going, yeah, what they said, squish. What's that? Is that, because I kind of like him just saying words that make no sense, so that weirdly works. You know, something like that, squish, or whatever that's meant to be pronounced as. Yeah, you never suspect him, and that's kind of the route I want to go with this scene with Blueberry. Like, when he's first introduced and pops out of his basket, I want the player to be like, oh, that's a really cute one, and oh, bless him, he's the cute baby, and he's sweet, he's the sweet one, and like not suspect him. And then all of a sudden, things take a really dark turn with Blueberry about halfway or towards the latter half of the scene, when he's like, give me your blood for my birthday sort of thing, but in baby language, of course. So let me just get that line, get a box for that. Blueberry talks in baby lingo, and follows follows his fruits, not really understanding what's going on, and something like, e.g. yeah, squish, but it's young, so it's spelled wrong, yeah. So I need to like look into dialogue that uses words that aren't real words, like sound. Is it sort of like a sound effect sort of way of, or just like weird baby talk? I suppose that's what it'd be, baby lingo. Baby lingo is something I'm bad at too, but I don't have a clue how to write as a baby, so I'd have to look into some baby characters that do speak in baby lingo. I'm sure there's some out there, and have a little, maybe get some more ideas from that too. But something like that, I mean, I don't know if I've kind of just put what you've suggested, Twisted Mouse. But if of course any alterations, feel free to say. I'm thinking lemon now. We were talking about mixing these two boxes, something like don't make me turn you into an easel. But he probably won't call Carol an old lady because he's an old man himself. So, you know, he's a lot older than Carol. So Carol to Lemon is actually a very young woman. Like young enough to be his granddaughter. So, so for sure it wouldn't be old lady insult for Carol. He'd use a different kind of insult. We'll have a think about that, but let's get Lemon's box out now. So Lemon would be the next one that pops up, which I'm totally okay with, because if we look at our timeline and plot, the next thing that happens is one of the fruits zero. So the next thing, the important thing that happens after Tomato shouted at them is when Plum thanks them for bringing them rose. So we can totally introduce some of the other fruits first, because if we introduce Plum now, I feel it'd be a bit too early. And that's probably something, he'd likely be the last one to, or the second from last, perhaps, it depends, to pop out. Plum would be. So we've got room to introduce at least one or two more before Plum comes out and thanks for bringing Rose. But he could be the third one, Plum could, that pops out. He could totally say that then, and then there might be an opportunity for the other fruits to pop out after that and say something. But Blueberry could pop out third and say that, something like that line as well. That could also work. So let's get Lemon's sprite. Let's cross that off. So here's Lemon. He really looks like Pikachu here. Just an angry Pikachu. I'm looking forward to putting this cutscene together though, because it's not going to be quite as challenging as the cart hijacking scene was. That was really being thrown into the deep end for me, doing the hijacking scene, because it was the first proper action scene of the whole game, and it was so early on as well. But I think I pulled it off. I still have to post that scene in the Discord for you guys to watch, and I'm kind of aiming for the weekend for that to be posted. It was meant to be this weekend, but stuff happens, so it's going to be a week after. But the fact is, there's no rush with that cutscene at the moment, because we're working on this anyway. But I definitely will like to get that posted just for feedback. Because it is basically 90% done. I'm just kind of doing the tidying up for it, and then it'll get posted. And same for this scene. Once we've done this scene, this will get posted in the Discord too. I want to make it a thing where every time we've finished a scene, I'm going to post it in the Discord for a few days, just to leave it open for viewing and feedback. And this one is just going to be easier to do than the hijacking scene, because it's there's going to be a bit of just banter between the fruits and the group, and they're not going to stand there and be talking heads. I'd like movement and facial expression changes, but it's not going to be action compared to what that cart scene was, at least. So it gives me a nice little breather, I guess, from the intensity of making that scene. So I'm looking forward to doing it and seeing how they look in that bowl as well. I'm looking forward to seeing what the bowl ends up looking like when they pop out of it. We'll make sure it looks super cute, because I want everyone to fall in love with these guys. No one is going to realise that they're the first boss of the game, of course, unless you're in the streams, then you'd know. But if people play this game and they have no clue about it, they'll just think, oh, look at these cute, adorable fruits, and everything just gets crazy, and then they end up being evil and we fight them. So like, not really something that would be expected, because bosses are usually very fearsome. They're usually monsters and really scary looking. So it's definitely an unusual boss, but I like it. It's really cool and makes our game a little bit different. And I'm not saying we're not going to have fearsome bosses. Of course we will. We'll have some right scary bosses, but I find it pretty interesting how we've gone for such a cute first boss. Trot Bra, thank you so much for that raid. How are you guys getting on? Hello. And your game's been released, was it today? I think it was today, wasn't it? Correct me if I'm mistaken, but I remember you're saying your game was about to be released, and that was last week, and I think that means it's today. Oh, yesterday. How did it go? Congratulations, that's such an achievement. So chat, everybody that's here hanging out, if you don't know, Top Bar actually released his game on Steam yesterday, so let me get that up for people. I believe I've still got the link in my bar. Here it is, I think. So yeah, it was 31st of March release yesterday. Here it is, folks. Oh, you've already done it. You're on it. You're faster than me. So guys, make sure you check out that game. Add it to your wish list, or even buy it. So that'll, I'm sure Top Bra will super appreciate that. I really love the pixel art, that's for sure. And congrats on the release. That is really, really cool. Super cool. So thank you so much for that raid as well. And how was your stream? How did it go? What did you get up to today on the stream? Yes, I will. Yay. It is so exciting. I can't remember if you said, Top Rise, is this your first release, or have you released other games before this one? You might have told me before. Just been patching like a madman, plenty of little bugs to fix. Oh yeah, just because the game's been released doesn't mean it's all over. Definitely. So will you be still working on this project and adding more content to it, or you'll be moving on to a new one? What's the aim for the next few months? I've made dozens of Flash games in the past, but never done a release on Steam before. That's so cool then. Real achievement. Awesome. GG. And good luck with the sales. Okay, so what we're doing today, guys, we are working on dialogue for the scene before our first boss. We're going to make sure it's a really awesome scene as much as possible before the first official boss encounter of our game. So it's actually scene 9 of episode 1, this scene is. So we're doing pretty well. We're still early on in episode 1. It's actually only the second main quest of the game, but our main quests are quite beefy. They're not like quick, fast quests. They're very full of story, very story-rich quests. So even though it's only towards the end of the second main quest, there's been lots of stuff that's gone on before this encounter, and it's really fun. it's these fruits basically. These are the first boss, and they've all got their own little personality. We've even made a scale of evil for them. So we've like thought of a trope for each of them, really tried to flesh out their character, and it's been interesting today because we've moved on to writing the dialogue, and we've had to get into their voices, and because I always like to make sure that, you know, especially in a non-voice acted game, that each character has their own clear, distinct voice so that every dialogue box doesn't sound like it's coming from the same person. And Tomato, yeah, he's the teenager. Yeah, so we kind of like to make sure, and chat's been really helpful because they're able to do teen lingo better than me for Tomato because I don't know my teen lingo. Thank you, yay. The main plan is moving on to a new one. This game is neatly wrapped up story, so while I could add more content, it would be non-story related. Yeah, sometimes with certain games it's hard to add more content, isn't it? Like if it's open-ended and sandboxy, it's always very, very possible to do that. But same for Raindrop Chronicles, when episode 1's released, it's not really something that's going to get updated itself. Obviously any bug fixes will be done, but because it's a story, it'll just be episode 2 that will be the follow-up. So episode 1 itself won't have any extra content once it's out. Nice. I struggled with giving characters a voice. A lot of effort it is, and I kind of that's sort of something I want to make a unique selling point with Raindrop Chronicles. I want to like really push it in terms of characterization and the story and the lore and all that sort of thing. I want to make it special in that way. So I think we're doing quite well. We've got ourselves quite a unique cast of characters here with these fruits and these barrels and boxes, so it's all just about making them likeable and unique from each other. I really want to make sure they're loved and hated, some of them as well. But as long as I can make people not feel indifferent about them. If people are feeling indifferent about these characters, it makes me think, well, I've got to do better. I've got to push them more. So that's kind of a goal of mine. Right. Gatto, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to stream, guys. If you're from Top Bra's stream or you're just popping in from finding me elsewhere, I hope you are having a good day. And we are making a game here. I built the whole thing on RPG Maker MV, and chat give me a lot of input on where to take the game and help out with story ideas, character ideas, dialogue ideas, and anything at all really. We just chat together and put everyone's ideas together to build this thing. And today we're working on dialogue. So the bot just did a command there that let you guys know what my YouTube. So I'd recommend giving me a sub on there, because everything gets uploaded on there. Every single stream from the very first one is in that playlist that's linked there. So if you're curious how things were early on, because we are on stream 118 today, if you want to see what things were like in the very early streams, it's all there. And if anybody has missed a stream and wants to see what we was up to in other streams, then they're perfect for that too. So yes, feel free to check it out. And thank you, Adron, for the follow as well. Thank you. Welcome to stream, guys. How are you doing? Tell us about yourself. We've also have a question of the week, so it's a pretty tough one though. It's a hard one to answer this week. Favourite boss battle in an RPG? Even if it's just one of your favourite boss battles, it doesn't have to be your favourite, but I'm intrigued to know, because that's what we're working on at the moment. The scene that we're putting together this week is the scene of the first boss, just before the encounter. So yeah, pretty good in this land of isolation. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it indeed. Right, so we're working on Lemon's line now. We've just copied and pasted Tomato's dialogue box, so we've got to edit it. So turns around, opens eyes and jumps out fruit basket. So he does the same thing as Tomato, because he's gonna also say something to Carol now. But he's gonna be very different to Tomato. He speaks in a different way. He's a different sort of character. So Tomato's the edgy emo boy teenager, and Lemon is the bitter old veteran. He's like everybody's grandpa. So Tomato's also way more evil than Lemon as well. Lemon's your typical bruiser with a soft centre guy, and yeah, Tomato's just a monster, to put it bluntly. So turns around, opens eyes and jumps out of fruit basket towards Carol. And he'll say something like, we were going to combine these two boxes. So don't make me turn you into an easel. And he'll say an insulting word here, but we don't know what it is yet, because we had old lady and we thought old lady would be a good insult for, you know, what a teenager would say, creaky old lady, and he's got that back off from our stuff sort of like lingo because he's a teen. Whereas Lemon's going to be a little bit more witty and a little bit more articulate than that. So we don't know what insulting word he'd use yet, but we know that he's an old man. So Lemon wouldn't say something like old lady with him being an old man. And Carol is much younger than him as well. So what are old people insult words? That's what I want to know now. I'm going to Google that. So this is, by the way, this is how the scene's going to look. Well, it's going to be the area that the scene takes place. So let's old people insults. Well, words that elderly people would say to people, not insults that would be given to them, of course. So I've got a bit of research time now. I really like the intentional use of tropes. I was thinking of doing that for my next game. Yeah, TV tropes is my everything, you know. I've spent hours on that website because, well, obviously because it's just super entertaining to read. I just find it really fun just to see what it says and what things are out there. I could just waste time on it forever, but also just because it can help like get the ideas flowing, you know. Like when you're making characters, it's very, sometimes you come a bit stuck and think, oh, where shall I take this guy? And I think it's a very good source. It's a very good tool. It can help just get those ideas rolling. And I think it's helped a lot for our characters, for sure, for these guys. Just assigning a trope to each of them has like kind of helped us think, well, that's what they are. And it keeps them consistent as well, because it's also one thing that's can be tricky, especially as a community, is that you have conflicting ideas, and some people could think that Blueberries does things a certain way and other people could think Blueberry does things another way, and those conflicting ideas could turn characters into very messy characters that don't make sense because they do things that they shouldn't be doing based on how we've written them. So if we like quite organised about how we make them, then we can always stay on track then. And we always, like for Blueberry, for example, we've said infant terrible. He's the typical example of someone so adorable that you just want to hug them, but they're actually awful and evil, but you just wouldn't ever suspect them of being evil because they're so cute. And that's what the infant terrible trope is. And if we keep that sort of idea in mind for Blueberry, then we can stay on track with him. And same like I always say, his dialogue baby lingo for him, like, and that way we get to make sure his dialogue doesn't go off track either, because we wouldn't want him talking like an adult, like a clever adult would when he's an infant. So always got to make sure we keep consistent. That's important. Of course, it can be considered cliche, but I also think it gives people an opportunity to anchor onto something familiar. Yeah, that's how I see it too. Like, I've seen people go, tropes, that they're overused and things like that, but in every sort of media, even some of the most like clever, like unique stories ever out there, they still fall under tropes. Like every single film or movie or TV series has a TV tropes page, most of them anyway. Even a really obscure game that I love has a TV tropes page, and I never thought it would because nobody knows it, but even that has a TV tropes page. And you know, everything has a trope somewhat. There's always a trope for something, even if you put a twist to it. And it's about like just using them as a tool and for inspiration, and to see what ideas you can take those tropes rather than copying them and doing the expected thing with them. Like, of course, some tropes are cliche and overused, and you see it in like a bazillion stories, but it's about looking at that and thinking, well, how am I going to take this in a different direction? That's kind of how I look at it. But yeah, my games are featured there, by the way. Featured there? Oh, are they? That's awesome. I want a TV tropes page for Raindrop Chronicles, because it is like user made, isn't it? I'm pretty sure of that. So I would love to eventually build a TV tropes page of Raindrop Chronicles and put all these tropes together on it. Hi Lazzy, how are you doing? If you want to sound like a baby, just don't use is, if, there's, and I'll use W's in its place. That's a good point as well, Twisted Mouse. It's always a challenge, because when you're an adult, it's really hard to imagine yourself talking like a baby, but sometimes, you know, you can look at characters in fiction that are like that you can be inspired by, that are a similar trope, and see how they do it. And you don't even have to copy them, you can just get ideas, or even merge multiple character inspirations together. But I don't think there's anything wrong with taking inspiration from other characters for your characters, you know, as long as it's not copyright. It's something everybody does, really. Everybody's inspired by something. Yeah, this one, I got such a kick out of it when I found it. It's a good as well. They caught some really good details. Oh, that's awesome. I'll have a little look at that afterwards. But yeah, it's so good. I love that website. I recommend it to anybody that enjoys, you know, stories and characters and all that kind of thing, world building. If you haven't discovered it yet, then you're in for a treat. Will this be 2D or 3D? This is a 2D RPG, Lazzy. It's like your typical, like, sort of retro, old school JRPG style, like Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger. It's that kind of look. So I was thinking of actually putting that in my title, 2D RPG, because at the moment I've got it as writing an RPG with my Twitch chat, but I might change it to making a 2D RPG instead, because that's what I've done in my YouTube videos now. Because if anyone ever finds me on there, they'll know that it's a 2D one. So yeah, that's a good point, just so people know, because some people do automatically think, oh, 3D RPG, because they're obviously very, very popular nowadays. But yeah, I have no experience in 3D stuff. My 2D is my thing. So right, and I'm very glad. I think the style of our game, with how silly and charming it is, suits the 2D perfectly. I don't know if the barrels and the fruits might look a bit ridiculous in 3D. I think Carol the Barrel. I'm struggling to imagine it. 3D, yeah, that's how I say that word. How you doing, Cat 5? Welcome, guys. Welcome to our writing dialogue stream. I always like get all the dialogue written up like this in this web app before putting it into the game, into the program, because we have like branching paths in our dialogue, quite a few, so I find the flow style really helps there. Like, for example, this is how some of our dialogue goes when we're given choices, so it can get a bit complicated, and it's nice to have a good plan and see it all there properly done before actually putting it into the program, because I don't like doing it that way because it can get messy, confusing and overwhelming. So I just like to get like little notes put down and slowly build it on here first, and then when I'm 100% happy with it, that's when I start putting the dialogue in. And when we do the scene, I do that alongside the scene making then as well. I can't even fathom a 3D. I know, right? Like, just the thought of it's kind of feels a bit nightmare fuel, if you ask me. I think we'd all be a bit scared by that. I'm really bad at 2D, but I think it's really cool. Yeah, and like, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a game I'm building, guys. You just enjoy the experience, the community just like chilling here and giving some like little ideas now and again with how to take the game. It's not like anybody has to be involved, like doing the assets for me or anything. It's nothing like that. Like, I have all full control about the design and the whole building, putting the game together. So yeah, no one has to have skills to hang out here. It's all just a bit of fun, and you know, people, even if you don't have a clue about writing dialogue and all that, even your feedback could still be valuable, because you never know, something could work. But yeah, sometimes it's hard to get involved and give some ideas when you don't already know the story and what's happened, which is why I'm like starting sort of a YouTube thing. Well, I've got the story so far, which doesn't talk about this particular scene yet, because we have to do it first. But once it's done, we'll have a story so far for that video too. Gotta run. Have a great stream. Take care, Top Bra. Thank you so much for the raid, and also congrats again with the game, and best of luck with the sales. I know you would do awesomely. Okay, so we also have a law discussion as well. So if any of you guys are curious, just feel free to take a peep. My goodness, I'm getting hungry. I might need to get my snack soon, but I've just realised I'm not far away from having dinner anyway, so I might hold on a bit. So don't make me turn you into an easel insulting word here, which I'm going to keep like that right now because I can't think what insulting word Lemon will give. I need to look up old people insults, which is what we was doing actually. Ancient insults that should be brought back immediately. Oh, hello. Angry kitty. Slobberlotcher. I've not heard of these. Has anyone heard of these? I've heard of Wiffle Waffle. Yeah, it has to be something that's appropriate for what he'd call Carol, of course, though. Yeah, what do, like, old, elderly, like, men call young women as an insult? That's what I want to know. Let's Google that. Words people. Yeah, well, words old people use. We got a better search for that. But this might take a little bit of research. Might not. Might have to move on to something else and think about that this off stream. Tramp. Oh my god, that's one. This game's art style is so awesome. Thank you, Lassie. Yeah, these the fruits and the barrels are like mostly like 90% original assets, because I do use a lot of resources that are already out there with some heavy editing now and again to get it to what I want it to look like. But a lot of the time we want to get super creative with the characters, so we I make them myself. Like these guys originally look nothing like this. They were actually all just a pink slime originally, and I edited them to be fruits. So they were based off a pink slime asset originally, and they just got transformed into these. And same with the barrels. Like these are mine. The only thing that isn't mine on these guys are some of the eyes. The eyes are like from a character generator in RPG Maker MD. Apart from Oliver's eyes, of course, I did those. But yes, it's super fun to get creative and wacky with your characters, because characters like this you just don't see every day. They're definitely not generic. That's one thing I know about them, especially the barrels. But tramps are a good word. I mean, isn't tramp something like somebody who's like lower class, perhaps, somebody would call? I don't know if would Lemon think a Carol is lower class, because they are at the same level. They're both sentient objects, you know, to a certain degree. And actually, you know, actually thinking about it, him calling a tramp would fit, because fruits go inside Carol, so they'd probably view it as very sort of trampy that Carol's like had all these fruits inside her. So that is one perspective. It all depends. There's probably loads of words. A bum, yeah. The level design is cool as well. Thank you. You could always go off and annoy an old man on the streets and see what he calls you. Yeah, except we can't now. We all have to be at home. But I wouldn't do that anyway, because I'm way too nice. But we'll leave it like that for now. But we've got things in mind, which is good. And probably we'll move on to the next part, because I do want to get as much done as possible of the scene, which is going to be hard. As we get towards the end of stream, but we can still try and get more done. So the next bit that happens, so I'd say if she insults Tomato, it would make more sense if Lemon says that to her. But we just don't know what Carol's insult to the Tomato will be yet. We'll see. I usually like to definitely get the scene all out there, get all the boxes laid out and it planned, and then fill in those details afterwards. So let's remind ourselves of the plot outline for this scene. Now, I do imagine Blueberry popping out now, and I've got a main reason for that, because Lemon has popped out, and we know that Lemon and Blueberry have a very close relationship. It's been mentioned here. Lemon looks after Blueberry. They have a close father-son type of relationship. In battle, Lemon's job is to keep Blueberry alive. So I kind of want to get Blueberry out now to show that Blueberry follows Lemon and they stick together, sort of thing, one after the other. I definitely want to make sure their relationship and closeness is shown in this scene as much as possible. So we already have discussed what Blueberry could say. We'll say Lemon actually for Blueberry. So they all do the same action. They all turn around, open their eyes and jump out of the fruit basket. But Blueberry will, instead of jumping towards Carol, Blueberry's going to jump towards Lemon, and he'll say something like, yeah, what they said. And we want to make this into baby language as much as possible. And we've added like imaginary words at the end like this as well, just to show he's a baby and has all these fake pretend words. So there was an interesting point about W's for certain letters, which was an interesting thing that got mentioned in chat earlier. So I'm wondering if there's anything at all that could, with these particular words, that can be turned more baby-like. Not so it gets overly annoying or too much, but just in a way that it's obvious he's like a baby and he talks in baby lingo. So let's get Blueberry's sprite up. And thank you, Lassie, for that follow as well. I appreciate that. So what I'm doing is I just like to, when I'm doing dialogue, I like to make it clear who's saying what. So I get a picture of them and put it into the app. So we've had, this will be the 3rd out of 5 characters we've introduced. It's just Plum and Apple to go. And I could imagine it being Plum next, actually, that pops out, because he'll be the one that starts the next part of the conversation and thanks the party for bringing them their last part of the recipe, should I say. But then there's just Apple, and Apple is the good one. So at some point, Apple's going to say something that shows that he's like the fruit that was actually the most sane. So we'll think about that too. Here's Blueberry. But yes, I like all this so far. I love their dialogue so far. Lemon's, I like it more and more the more I think about it, because he's also showing his protective side here. The fact that Tomato is being insulted by Carol, which is probably what's going to happen in her dialogue line, shows that Lemon's not accepting that. He's not having anybody insult his kin. So he's showing his protective, which is something that is very important with his character. He's a bruiser with a soft centre, so yeah. By the way, Rose, you're awesome. Just saying thank you so much, man. Those words, we need them from time to time, and I hope you know that you are as well. And I know that you need to hear that as well, especially after what happened yesterday. And you, of all people, don't need that happening to you, that's for sure. You should be told you're awesome all the time. It's been very fun to be a part of. Yeah, and thank for your help, Twisted Mouse, like your ideas and Chub Cheeks. You had some really good dialogue ideas for getting into the voice of the characters, and it helps a lot, because otherwise it's just me doing it, and I'm just one person, and it's very hard for one person to write such a varied cast. Like, that's a challenge for even professional writers, never mind me. So that's one thing that I love about us being a community doing this, is that there's a bunch of us that could give ideas. So something that's normally difficult is made easier by having a few of us do this. Yay. So what they said. Okay, so at this point Plum's going to appear, and we also got to think Rose and the hero, what are they going to be doing while all this is going on? I'll say that everything's probably happening pretty fast right now, which is what we want. They're all coming out the bowl one at a time, having their little say. That's kind of the scenes going on. So Rose and the hero really don't have much time to interrupt anyway, and if the hero's going to say anything, it's going to be when they've all appeared and said something. And Rose doesn't talk anyway, other than probably showing an angry face or a certain facial expression from time to time, which will be easy to just slot in. We can make a sprite have a shocked face or anything at all. But it'd be cool to have because the hero with his dialogue, we approach it in a way that the only time the hero speaks is when there's a dialogue choice. Like, for example, here, the only time the hero actually talks is when there's a choice for the player. The hero actually doesn't have his own voice, you see. He'll never just say something off his own back. The only time the hero will speak is when the player has an option to pick what that is. Exactly like how things are in a game such as Mass Effect or Fallout, when you are given like that dialogue choice with every single action or conversation that happens. It takes a similar approach. So although it's like very JRPG in style, this game, it takes a very Western inspiration as well, because that's kind of what our Western RPGs do. And usually with every hero dialogue thing, you gain points or lose points in traits, such as bravery and compassion, and you can even get romance points as well. As you can see in this particular scene, there was a Carol romance point gained for flirting with her, and it's very lewd as well, but it's PG lewd, so it's fine. I love it. So yes, it's true, Carol the Barrel is a romance option in the game. And there's others that are up for grabs. At this stage, we don't know. There's so many characters we haven't been introduced to, so it's not really the time to fully implement the romance system yet. But it'll be fun. I love that it's something that we've got in mind. Okay, so I think now is the perfect time for Plum to show himself. So this is the bit we're on now. We're kind of halfway through, which is good. We're at the halfway through point here. We're like on this paragraph now, which it feels like we've not done much, but yeah, we're already halfway through. But most of the dialogue this is the dialogue heavy bit now. So how many boxes do you expect to have in total, and what tool are you using? Hi Barry Carter, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. That's a difficult question to answer because we don't know the length of this game. This is something that's going to be a huge epic, and it's also episodic, by the way. So we kind of chose to, well, I mainly chose for it to be episodic because the nature of the project, with it being improvised and an ongoing epic fantasy, it just lightens the load, and it keeps things fun as well. Not having a plan, I think it can get overwhelming. I would get overwhelmed if I was like, I've got to do 1 million dialogue boxes. Say if that was like what I had in mind, I'd just get overwhelmed. So we don't have anything like that in mind, just to keep this project fun, because my aim with this is to keep doing this on stream for the foreseeable future, for years to come on Twitch. This is my thing on Twitch now, so it's not going to be over anytime soon. This is a project that's going to be years long, and yeah, maybe I won't always be doing it full time if things happen, like I have to have a job or another job or something, but it's always going to be something that's going to be consistently going on in my life, even if the schedule has to change, just so you guys know. And it's important to me to keep things fun and not get too planny with it all. I've gone off on a tangent a bit with that question, but I felt like it was important to say. But as for the tool as well, it's Draw Royale. I'll give you the link to that. So it's got its pros and cons, this tool. I like it for some reasons and I dislike it for other reasons. You can get some really nice organised dialogues or plans in this software, so that's why I like it. And it's fairly easy to use, but it can just be a bit messy sometimes, like, but that isn't everything. So just have a look, you might like it. Is it okay to share stuff in chat? If it's relevant to the stream, then yes. And if it isn't, then just ask. Then just ask if it's okay to share a link. Usually I'm only like super against links getting posted if it's a total random coming in the stream, because we don't know what that link is. It could be something a bit dangerous, malicious or whatever. But if it's a community member, like if it's you guys, I'm usually not going to mind too much if you want to share stuff in chat. So if it's episodic, does that mean state isn't carried from scene to scene? What do you mean by state? Do you mean like stats, such as the party's health and skills that they've got? If that's what you mean, then the answer is it will carry on. Everything's going to carry on. So the end of episode 1, for example, whatever your stats are, whatever your party is at that time, that will also be what it is right at the start of episode 2. It'll continue. So imagine it as if when all the episodes are put together, it's like a big long epic game when they're all joined together. They just continue one after the other. For sure, it just helps a bunch, because thinking of it as a whole game, I'll tell you now, guys, if this was one whole game, if it wasn't episodic, there wouldn't be any release in the first half of this decade. I'll tell you that now. So, I mean, that sounds a bit much. It sounds like, holy crap, this is big. This is a long thing if you're planning to do it for longer than 5 years. But I couldn't promise that. That's all I'm saying. I couldn't promise a release the first half of this decade if it was a full game, because I do want to create a big world here. This is a chance I've got at making, you know, my own fantasy epic, and I want to make it. I do want to make it quite, you know, I want a fancy world map. I want loads of different places and a big world. So because of the scope of it, yeah, it's going to go on a long while, and it's not going to be a short fantasy that's going to be over in a couple of years. That is ultimately why the episodic thing just is perfect for this, because it allows us to take it a step at a time, you know. Episode 1 will just feature 1 or 2 zones of the game, and then episode 2 will expand the map even more, and episode 3 even more, and then by several episodes, you know, everything's been revealed, and it's fun. It's something I'm working on for an RPG. Oh, you're working on an RPG as well, Lord? What's that? In other words, if you do something in episode 8, will it affect episode 9? Oh, you mean like if you make choices in the game? Yes. This game is very choice based, if that's what you mean, and there'll be consequences to the actions and things you've done, and I'm not even gonna lie, something you've done in episode 1 might affect episode 8. You know, some things that will happen really early on could affect something in a way later episode as well, because us as a community could have more ideas. We could think in ages to come, like far in the future, when we're working on a episode 5, 6 or whatever, and we're like, oh, imagine if we might have that happen from what that player did in that, you know, that scene in that episode, and it could work really well, and you never know. So not everyone everyone will start in the same place. If you mean location-wise, everybody starts in the same place, you know, but it's not like a roguelike or it's randomly generated or anything like that. But in terms of like, yeah, if you think from an RPG perspective and the fact that you can make choices like games like Mass Effect, Fallout, Skyrim and all those Elder Scrolls, you make kind of choices, don't you, that can affect certain quests elsewhere. with NPCs and relationships with NPCs. Well, this would be very similar. Like your relationships with NPCs, the way you've built your morality as the hero will be different. That's something that's changeable depending on you as the player, how you played the game. But scenes, the world itself isn't like randomly generated, you know. That's all. It's all story, follows a set story. I used to work as a VFX artist, and I've been trying to put together a game of my own. My first project couldn't find publishers, so I'm going back to something with more indie people. That sounds super fun, Lord. Good luck with that. And if you want to pop it in the Creative Work channel in the Discord, feel free to as well, whenever you want to. Choices you have in episode 9 maybe determine something happened in episode 1. Yes, that is an answer to that. Yes, for sure. And like, I mean, I can't say 100% yes, because we don't know until we get to episode 9, of course, but there's a good chance, you know, because this is a choice-based game, and I've always said to this community that I want the choices to have real consequences. So, yeah, I'm very old, don't know any of these games. Oh, right, well, yeah, it's fine. I mean, feel free to answer the questions. It's always fun to answer questions, so I don't mind at all. And it's always good to inform the community about the game as well. And you know, I find it fun talking about it. So yeah. But folks, I've just realised the time, and I will be closing things up shortly, but I would like to pass this on to somebody else. So we did make a start to the dialogue today. There's still a long way to go. We haven't even finished introducing all the fruits yet. We've got all the dialogue heavy stuff to come, so we're going to continue with that tomorrow. I'm really gonna try and aim to get the scene done tomorrow, at least the first draft anyway. The dialogue will probably be a bit rough around the edges, but as long as we can get the scene in place, I think that would be a good target tomorrow. So we're working on RPG, but I'm trying to create it on a real world map if you're interested. Yeah, guys, if you want to talk about your stuff together, because I'm leaving stream soon, I don't want to cut your conversation. I mean, you're always welcome to talk and chat about your stuff normally anyway, but because I'm ending soon, if you're in the Discord, you're free to talk about it now, mainly the Creative Work channel, because that's for people's projects. That's the channel I specially made for people's creative work. So that option's always open, just so you know, guys. Thank you for the stream. Thank you, Rex. I hope you're having a good morning, Rex. Yay! Thanks for joining, guys. Thanks for joining Discord. It's useful to be there as well because of my streams and announcements and things like that. So if you like following the project, then for sure, because you never know, if I ever have, like, I'm going on holiday or having a short break, you'll wonder where I am, and it's always good to just be in there if you want to keep up with the project. So I'm going to see who's online, folks. I'm going to have a quick look. Yeah, thank you for the Discord command. Well, you were doing it because you wanted to find it anyway, but luckily we do have a Discord command. Yes, we do. Okay, guys, so raid, exclamation mark. Thank you for the follow as well, Barry. I appreciate that. I'm just going to see who is on. Right, so Masked Emerald. Usually she finishes around now, but we'll go send you guys to her. She's lovely. She's doing some artwork, and she comes over and raids me a lot sometimes too. So she might be finishing soon, but we'll go anyway. So take care, guys, and I will see you tomorrow. It'll be the last stream of the week tomorrow, but let's aim to get the dialogue done tomorrow. It'll be lots of fun. I'm excited. Take care, everyone.